This comes to us from the Wall Street Journal. Assassin's Creed maker Ubisoft sees flat sales in new fiscal year. Latest setback comes as the French video game group seeks to shrug off months of production delays and calls to go private. Now, I was paying attention to this earlier today. I was very interested to see what the sales announcement for Assassin's Creed Shadows would be and what they would say about it, because I feel like this was our first official insight where Ubisoft had to be honest because they're talking to their shareholders. But I forgot Ubisoft in the past has shown me that they aren't necessarily 100% transparent when it comes to discussing matters with their shareholders. I've covered this in videos before where I'm like, I've listened to the calls, I've played the calls and the things that they say, where they're like, oh, we see a lot of community positive engagement and sentiment around Star Wars Outlaws. And there's a lot of positive community sentiment in the lead up to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I'm like, how? Where are you getting this information from? Because first off, no. Secondly, it sounds like you're deceiving your investors right now to save your ass, because you don't care if it succeeds or fails. You'll just come up with an excuse after it flops, because you can say whatever you want right now and then just blame something else when it doesn't work. It says Assassin's Creed maker Ubisoft said net bookings for year to end of March slumped nearly 21%. That's a lot, by the way. That number is supposed to go up. Ubisoft Entertainment said it expects flat sales this fiscal year, another setback for Assassin's Creed maker as it seeks to shrug off months of production delays and calls to go private. The French video game group said net bookings for the year to end March slumped nearly 21% to 1.85 billion. I think that's euro, which is 2.07 billion USD, and that they would stay flat in the new fiscal year. The company booked a non-IFRS operating loss of 15.1 million euro in fiscal 2025 and expects to roughly break even in fiscal 2026 with negative free cash flow. And I can tell you guys right here, the survey says that was a lie. They expect to roughly break even in fiscal 2026. How? The forecasts come after a tumultuous year for Ubisoft. Production delays, game cancellations, job cuts, and studio closures, as well as calls to go private from AJ Investments, a Slovakia-based hedge fund, weighed on its stock price. Ubisoft shares are down about 50% over the past 12 months. So for every dollar you invested, you now have 50 cents, which, again, that's not how investing is supposed to work. This year has been a challenging one for Ubisoft, with mixed dynamics across our portfolio. Amid intense industry competition. Oh, Yves Guimont, of course, it's not your DEI injection nonsense bullshit that people have been calling out that nobody wants and we're refuting. No. We're going to manipulate this conversation and say intense industry competition. What, the other people in the market that you're playing in not injecting DEI into their games? They're beating you. I guess you could boil that down to intense industry competition. We're currently working on reshaping the group's operating model and plan to announce new organization by the end of the year. Reshaping the group's operating model and a new organization. Oh, they're talking about with Tencent. Okay. Yeah. That doesn't count. In a bid to revive its fortunes, Ubisoft struck an agreement with Tencent Holdings in March that let the Chinese internet giant invest 1.16 billion euro for a roughly 25% stake in a new subsidiary that will include teams behind Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six franchises. The unit will also house any new games under development or to be developed, which right there should tell you that Ubisoft as a company is dead. That is them basically closing down Ubisoft by saying that. It's basically a legacy company at this point. That's crazy. That deal expected to be completed before the end of 2025, which they already are facing a ton of hurdles with, which I've covered, where they're having investor pushback on it for obvious reasons, allows Ubisoft to slash debt. No. It's not slashing debt. It's burdening original Ubisoft by sailing away from it without the debt and just leaving it with Ubisoft, and shore up its balance sheet while developing its largest games with Tencent's backing. One question I have for Ubisoft and Tencent would be, what are they going to do differently? If they're going to still inject DEI into it, it's going to completely fall and falter the same way it did the first time around. Ubisoft expects to receive royalty payments of more than 80 million euro a year in the coming years, based on a percentage of the new subsidiary's annual revenue. A pittance payment. They'll toss a few shekels to the OG Ubisoft. Lexice Fox says, I, for one, cannot wait for Ubisoft to become a Chinese company. The company said sales in fiscal 2026 would benefit from a line-up including Siege X, Anno 117, Pax Romania, a remake of Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, Rainbow Six Mobile, and The Division Resurgence, with more games to be announced at a later stage. Sales will also continue to benefit from Assassin's Creed Shadows, which Ubisoft released toward the end of March, giving players an open stance game where they can fight as Shinobi Assassin and as a samurai in feudal Japan. Yeah. I love how this is like how the game of telephone works, where one outlet reports Yasuke was a samurai, and now just flippant bad journalism is just like, yeah, you're a samurai in feudal Japan. It's fine. Whatever, bro. No one's arguing this. It's like, no. This is what one of the main points was that people were pushing back upon. The company had initially sought to release the game in November, but postponed the launch twice to give developers more time to polish the game. Remove Yasuke as much as possible so that they could limit backlash. Guimont said the group opted to invest more time to develop some of its biggest games, meaning there would be significant content coming out in fiscal 2027 and 2028. Company expects to return positive non-IFRS operating profit and free cash flow generation in fiscal 2027. Ubisoft posted 902 million euro in net bookings for its fiscal fourth quarter, the end of March, up 3.4% on the year. Analysts had forecasted net bookings at 943.1 million, according to Visible Alpha Consensus. Guys, that's about 40 million euros short, which is really bad because it was already a very low analyst prediction. For the current quarter, Ubisoft is forecasting net bookings around 310 million euro compared to 209 million euro a year earlier. So you read this, guys, and this is, again, from the Wall Street Journal. I guess you could say a fairly reputable organization in the modern era. Sure, they have some questions around them, but for the most part, fairly reputable. And reading through this, it doesn't sound good at all for Ubisoft. But that doesn't stop the cope and the journos out there that are just trying to run defense still for this game. One person in particular that I saw trying to run defense for this today, which I thought was pretty wild, was Mighty Queef, who said in response to Shinobi, Grums, were we misled? And I see this Shinobi post who has blocked me for me daring to call out a game that was lied about. I don't remember what it was. It was over a year ago. And it was a simple, innocuous correction to him, like, oh, hey, this was actually the situation with that game. And it had something to do with the game being woke when he was alluding to it wasn't woke, and he blocked me like right away. And I was like, oh, he's a wokey. This Shinobi guy's a wokey. Gotcha. Now I understand that. And now with this post, you see why. Assassin's Creed Shadows delivered the second highest day one sales and revenue in franchise history behind Valhalla. It also set a day one Ubisoft performance record on PSN. The company expects it to contribute strongly to the fiscal year 2025 and 2026. More news at Global Newswire news release. And I'm like, bro, what does any of this even mean? This means absolutely nothing. If you're trying to claim that this game is somehow a win and owning the chuds, you're going to fail miserably with that approach. Because one, this is not a direct comparison with Valhalla, because you don't know how much Valhalla costs compared to how much Assassin's Creed Shadows costs, which I have seen estimates upwards of $800 million with is it 2 hours? Something disgusting like that of names scrolling. That's a lot of salaries to be paying for this game. And I don't care if it delivered the most sales in the history of Assassin's Creed. That doesn't mean it made money. I feel like these people forget this, like this big, important, it's not cope. It's reality. When you're in business, you're not in business to be a charity and give things away. You're in business to make money. So if you're spending more than you're making, your business is failing. And that's being reflected in the stock price right now, where nobody has any faith whatsoever in Ubisoft. It also set day one Ubisoft performance record on PSN. Again, means absolutely nothing. How many units did they sell? Oh, they announced they had over 3 million players engaged. Again, means nothing. None of this means anything. So seeing people, look at this guy, Mighty Queef in here, 9/11 for the grifters. Super Eric, they'll most likely ignore this, LOL. Are these people retarded? Like, honest question. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's almost like they don't understand how sales work with games or with business in general. We just went through the actual numbers. It is all doom and gloom. The only thing that's not doom and gloom is, get this, ready? Ubisoft expecting the game to do well in the future. Ubisoft expecting things to do better down the road. Those are the positives that you can take from it, which is all lip service. That doesn't mean anything. What did you sell? How much did you make? How much did you spend? And how badly is your company failing? After all that, we see Grums here says, Ubisoft has earnings report, had only this to say about Assassin's Creed Shadows. No hard sales numbers. Some outlets still repeating the 3 million players engaged line. It just reaffirmed the power of the brand. That was not enough to save them from losing $92 million, according to Yahoo Finance today. And they said, despite the challenging year, CEO Yves Guillemot highlighted some positives, stating, Assassin's Creed Shadows reaffirmed the power of the Assassin's Creed brand with a highly favorable community response from longtime fans and new players alike. That is either a CEO that has no finger on any pulse whatsoever, or someone who is so delusional that they completely ignore what the general consensus sentiment is surrounding this game. And if you're an investor and you buy what this guy is selling you, you deserve to lose all your money. So I said, reads like Assassin's Creed was a hit. This was in response to Shinobi, who has me blocked, so I had to screenshot it. The reality is, Ubisoft reported a $92.4 million operating loss. Revenue dropped 20%. They missed all estimates, and they are still deep into debt. Game Journals reports headlines keep lying, this time by omission. Oh, and still no reference to sales numbers anywhere too. Weird. And again, this is someone that is trying so hard to own the chuds that they are completely embarrassing themselves publicly. Like the game flopped. It flopped so bad. Ubisoft is dying, if not already dead, with what's happening right now. And we still have journos and people on social media running cover for them. Not that anyone should really be surprised at this point, but still, I found it interesting. But anyways, I'll leave that there. I just wanted to cover that because, man, Ubisoft. For the people out there coping and being like, oh no, we finally own the chuds. First off, it doesn't matter if you think you're right or we're right. What matters is Ubisoft is dying, and it's because of their DEI decision making. So deal with the consequences of your actions. We got Sergeant Sapient for the 2 says Ubisoft, more like DEI be soft. Am I right? Yes, absolutely. The Ubisoft jokes will never get old.